Welcome back. In today's video, I want to show us how to couple our Ankara trouser. Now, I've noticed that most of us are a bit confused of the processes of coupling an Ankara trouser with respect to the band. So right here, I have my front body placed as well, sewn in the same method we used to sew our plain trouser. The zip fix the same method, the pockets are the same method, right? Now, I have put my lining as well, the same method of lining. And then, the only different thing here is the band measurement and the folding. So, on the band measurement, I have my band measurement to be at width of 4.5 width, and then length could be the length of your choice, but the person's waist measurement divided by 2, then plus extra 5 inches. So right here, my waist measurement is 37 I have, then 37 by 2 is 18.5, right? Then extra 4 inches, so it's very much okay for me. So I'm going to do what we call the jointed band, so which this band was cut at once and then gummed and fold, and then what I will just do is to slit this band. Now the essence of me slitting the band, I like having a jointed band at the back so that it will help us to adjust the trouser if there's any need. But then if you so don't wish to slant the band, or sorry, join the band, you can as well proceed to join it directly. Remember, what? Right here, you band the band, as I was saying. If you want to make a jointed band, you make it. But then I think I need to show us the jointed band, so for us to as well learn it at once. But then if you don't want to make a jointed band, you can actually leave your band this way and then proceed to the normal coupling processes. So now the band measurement we had is 4.5. Then you use your interfacing, that's your pepper gum or your gum stem, and gum. Now the gumming will be more than 1.52 inches, right? So the gumming is around 2.3, 2.5 maximum. Then fold half an inch down and then fold again. Now this second folding will now be the desired width of the band you want. So I want the band to be at 1.1. So I have the band to be at 1.1. Then you fold the excess on top of it this way, and which will be inserted under while we are sewing our band. So make sure that the one under is a bit bigger than the one on top, so that by the time you are sewing on top of the band, you are going to catch the one beneath. So right here, the next difference we have is our back pocket, which is always on a patch, right? So the measurement on the back pocket when cutting was the measurement was 6 inches, right? 6.3. So I folded half inch on both sides or thereabout, and then I have my desired finishing to be at 4.5, and then the length as well. In cutting, the length was 10 inches, and then I folded, and then I had my desired finishing to be at 7 inches depth. On this will happen on the both patch pockets, right? So right here, now the next thing I will show us is the loop. Now the loop is being folded and then top stitched on both ends, right? So that you have it coming out as a stronger material on both ends. So I will also show us how to fix these loops, the measurements apart, and then how to proceed. So right here, I want to top stitch my back patch pockets. First and foremost, you top stitch. Now this top stitching will give you what we call a decorative stitch on the pocket, so that you have it nicely sewn, and they give you a nice finishing you have. So right here, when you have gotten your top stitching done, you also do on the other corresponding aspects of the trouser of the pocket the top stitch. Make sure you do it in a very nice way, the top stitch. So right here, I have it in this form, and then when you have finished top stitching, the next thing you do now is to fix this, do your dart at the back of the trouser and fix your pockets at the back, which I will also show us as we progress on this video. As well, don't forget that you can as well use your hemming gum to hold down the tip of the folded edge, that the part you have folded double to be the upside, you have to fold that part. Then when you fold that part, you sew as well, or if you want to use hemming gum, you can use hemming gum as well to fold it, right? So when you have folded into hemming gum or sewing, you have gotten your hemming allowance or folding of the pocket done. Then make sure that the both sewings are of the same length. Then you are done with this one now. So right here, when you are done with this one now, you now cut off the threads left on the pocket. You cut off the threads, and then after that you do an iron out. Now the ironing must be done so that you have a nice and better finishing. Make sure you always iron your trouser, your pockets or your sewings out. Now I'll go and iron now and then come back to progress. So right here, then let's fix our back pockets. And then how then do you fix the back pockets? You make sure that you first and foremost fix your darts. Then the easiest way to fix your darts is from the straight line part of the trouser. You measure 5.5 inches inwards from the straight line of the trouser. You measure 5.5 inches inwards. When you mark, the depth of the dart is always 3.5. Don't forget, 5.5 by 3.5 depth. This is for the dart point, and then you fold into two. Always bear in mind that whenever you are folding into two, you are going to sew the dart ½ inch. That's the dart width, ½ inch, and then you stop at that point of your 3.5 inch depth. So you must make sure your material is placed correctly, and then sew it this way, and then stop at that point. So you also repeat the same process on the other part of the trouser. Then after you must have done that, you now fix your patch pocket. Now the patch pocket will be centralized at the center of the dart. That's the dart will be at the center of the patch pocket. Then making sure that your material, your patch pocket is balanced and straight on. So make sure it's balanced, then you sew. So as you're sewing, also make sure that the pocket doesn't shift and that you have it at a very nice position, which will give you a very fine finishing. So you sew in this form, and then when you get to this point, you have successfully fixed your patch pocket on your trouser. So the next thing you will do now is to replicate the same method of procedure on the other part of the trouser. Make sure that the beginning of the sewing of your patch pocket is well stitched so that it will not tear or pull at any slightest pressure, right? So I'm done with this one now. It's Ankara, so it's not that visible, but though, let me put my hand. This is the patch pocket of the trouser, right? So this is the patch pocket. So I will also repeat some process on the other side, and then we now proceed to the next stage. So right here, we are done fixing the two back patch pockets on our Ankara. So what we now do next is to start fixing or coupling the sides, which I believe we all must have known. So I just want to get to this stage and then show us, so that in case any of us are doubting or having any misunderstanding or confusion, so this video will go a long way to clear up our doubts. So right here, you hold the sides together this way. Then you are going to sew from the straight side ½ inch, right? Then make sure that your trouser lengths are equal. So when you sew, when you start, make sure you stitch it very well. Then your sewing must cut across the pocket tip so that it will give you a nice finishing from inside. And then make sure that your pocketing is tucked in inside so that it will not hold down the pocketing there. So right here, you push this way and then you sew. Then as you're sewing, stitch on the pocket side, and then make sure that you draw the trouser to correspond in length on both sides, making sure that none of them is longer than the other. Then you progress in the joining of the sides, then it's advisable that you draw or you pull the down parts a bit so that it will not shorten, because that's the one that always my shuttle is finished. Let me fix my shuttle and then continue. Here we are continuing. I have fixed my reel. Then make sure that you are pulling the part of the collar beneath so that it will not shorten. Pull it a bit. Then when you get to this stage, you can see that the lengths are equal. Then you also repeat the same process on the other side of the trouser. So right here, I'm done fixing the sides of my pocket of my back trouser to the front. So the 4 panels are now jointed, the 2 fronts and then the 2 sides as well. So right here, you now fold into 2, right? Fold into 2. Then you apply your waist measurement. Now my client's waist measurement is 37 inches. Now you divide it into 2. So you fold into 2 this way, and then divide it into 2. So you do 37 by 2. Place this way from the tip of the anterior folded. So 18 is 36. Half is 37. That's 37 now. So you mark, right? So you mark it here. Now the remaining is 1 inch from the closure, 1 inch allowance left, SS. Then you open it up again. Then this is the time for us to fix our loops. Now it will be of great interest if you pay attention to know how our loops are being fixed and then how to proceed. Now before you proceed, you must have prepared your long loop, right, in this form. So you now cut your loops. Bear in mind that each loop is 4 inches and there are 6 loops on a trouser. So all you need to do is to have to cut out 6 loops of 4 inches each. Then you fold this way. I'm cutting in 2s. Then you measure 4 inches, right? Then this is 4 inches. You mark and then cut from there. So this is 2 now. So I'm cutting two at once. Then you place as well again. Then cut another 4. That's 4 now. And 2s. And then you place the last one, right? And then cut again. That's the 6th loop. So you have your 6 loops done. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Then the next you will do now, bear in mind that what was left inside was 1 inch allowance. And then on the normal note, the belt loop is for the trouser is positioned at 1.5 inch from the closure of the back. So the 1 inch allowance left was the closing allowance left. So that means when it's open this way, bear in mind that we are doing what we call jointed with band. Then 1 inch plus 1.5 is going to give us 2.5. You mark at 2.5. Then from the side joining, you come in 2 inches backwards for the second belt loop at the back. Then from the pocket tip of the front, mark 2.5 forward towards the zip, 2.5. Then that's for the 3 loops on the one side of the trouser. Then as well, you repeat the same process from the pocket tip, mark 2.5 this way, 2.5. Then from the side joining, you mark 2 inches towards the back, and then adding 1 inch and 1.5 inch for the side from the back closure. You have 2.5 here, so you mark 2.5. So right here you have your loops marked. Now the next you will do now is to split your band into 2. Bear in mind this band was cut together to enable me fold evenly, right? So you split into 2, cut into 2. Then you are going to start fixing one part of the band from one part of the trouser this way. So you must make sure that it's going to be enough for your trouser. So right here, when you have gotten to this stage, you now start fixing your band. So I'll also show us when I proceed or when I get to that stage. So let me start fixing my band now. So right here, you make sure the band fixing must come from the point you have the back part of the trouser, right? Then your belt loop comes next. Then make sure you place your belt loop beneath this way, and then your band on top, right? And then you sew from the point you have folded. Now this is how you are going to fix your band on your trouser, making sure that everything is balanced and then you fix the second loop, and then fold it down as well this way, and then you sew. Make sure, don't forget to fix your loops as you progress or as you proceed. Then when you come to the side joining, you must have open press the sides before you get to this loop fixing. Then if you have not, just use the hand to open it up and then you sew, right? And then as you're sewing, you have to now unzip your trouser and then fix the last bit loop. So this is how you are going to fix your bit loops on your trouser. And then at the end of this band, you see that you have your band coming out a bit from here. Though mine should have been a bit longer, but I will still handle it and then close it accordingly. So you sew and make sure that you have finished your band properly. Now, the next you will do now, I should have had a bit longer, but then you can still work with this small measurement left. So right here, you now have fixed the first quarter or the first half of your band, which is how it should look like. Now the next you will do now is to fix the next stage or the next quarter or the next half. So right here, you have your band as well. Now make this one to come out a bit so that you have enough allowance to lock it up when you are locking your band. So you sew from that point. Always don't forget to put your loops beneath your bands as you proceed or as you progress on your coupling processes. Then fix your loop under and then place the band on top, and then you sew as well. So as you're sewing as well, make sure that when you come to the side joining, open it up, right? Open it up this way and then place it down and then sew on the line you have iron. Insert the second loop as well, and then you have your sewing going so effectively. So this is how we fix our band on our trouser of our Ankara, and I believe this video will go a long way to assist us and guide us, bearing in mind that the cutting processes of the trouser remain the same with our normal plain trouser. So when you have gotten to this stage now, you are done with this. So the next thing you do now is to tack or to hold down the loops by half an inch down. Make sure you measure it from this joining point, half an inch down. You hold it down by half an inch. Now this holding will help you to have your belt properly inserted without having much stress. Then make sure that your holding ends on the loop. Don't exceed the sewing on the body of the trouser. Make sure it ends on the loop of the trouser. Now you have to hold the 6 of them individually to have a nice and relaxing band. Don't forget to do this, it's very important as well. Then when you must have done this, the next thing you do now is to bring up the the next stage, which is locking of the band, tip and the back, which I will also show us as we progress. So I will take my time now to hold down the loops on the other part of the trouser and then progress to the next stage. I'm done packing the loops on the material. So the next I will do now is to notch the band this way and then flip it over this way, and then making sure that you are locking the band at exact measurement of your folding, right? Then make sure that the closing of this edge or this tip will be in line with your flap measurement or flap direction. So you lock it this way and then cut off the excess threads you have, right? Cut off the excess material here as well, and then you fold it inward this way. So when you have folded inward this way, you have gotten the closure of your band in front. So you as well do the same thing here. Like I said, you notch this point and then flip it over this way. Make sure you always cut your threads. Those cutting of threads helps you a lot. So when you cut off those threads, then you now flip it in this direction, and then you have it folded this way, and then you sew. Make sure you're sewing in line from the flap direction, right? Flap it at the tip of the flap. Then when you have closed it this way now, you cut off the excess as well, and then flip it in this way again. Tuck it in properly. Don't tear it, to tuck it in properly. And then we're not going to lock the back waist in the form, but then before you go to the back locking, make sure that your band are equal. Then zip it up and crochet. They must be equal this way. So once it's equal, you proceed to the next step, which is the closure of the waistline. And the closure of the waistline will not be that 1 inch we left inside, right? So don't forget to cut off the excess band at the waistline area at the back. Cut off the excess band here. Now when you now cut it off, you now have the band placed together, right? Placed together. Now unfold all the foldings you have here. Unfold it, and then make sure that the two bands are of the same length, that they must correspond. Place them together this way, and then if possible, use your pin to pin it. Now this pinning will help you to have a nice closure and an accurate closure. So right here, after we have pinned, then bear in mind that what was left inside of my sewing allowance was 1 inch, which we measured initially when we were trying to fix our loops. So you also mark the 1 inch here, right? Also mark the 1 inch here. You also mark it here, and then start from that 1 inch and then close down. Then always stitch your beginning very well so that it will not pull off easily. So stitch very well right here, and then now hold it evenly, making sure that the bands are of the same width or the same length. Then when you have locked straight up to the waistline, then approaching the hip line, you can as well apply your hip now, but then I always use whatever measurement I have here, half of it. That means I'm going to close at 1/2 inch in subsequent down sewing. So I measure 1/2 inch here, and then I sew in this same shape to give me my closure of my back trouser crotch area. Then you have it this one. Then when you must have gotten to this stage now, you are done with your band closing. What you now have to do now is to top stitch the band and then give your normal sewing. Then it's advisable that you have a double sewing here to reinforce whatever you have sewn here, so that it will not tear at lightest pressure. So if you want to have a double sewing, fine, but in an alternative way, you can use you can do tight stitch sewing here, so that it can be very tight enough so that it won't tear easily. So when you have gotten to this stage now, you now open up this way to cross check what you have sewn, so the band are of the same measurement, and then you open it up this way. Then you now refold again. This is how your band should look like. They must correspond. One should not be bigger than each other. So now you now bring out the trouser legs outside. You bring it out from here, and then you unzip, right? You unzip. So we're now trying to lock the band. So make sure the foldings are going inwards as well. They must go inwards this way as well. Then once it's going inwards, then you now place your material this way, and then top stitch sew on top of the band, sew on the tip of the band, making sure that you are having a nice sewing. Sew it properly. Make sure it's sewn nicely. So right here, you take your time to go gradually. Make sure that the back side join, the back joining is open, right? It must be open. It must be open. Then you sew accordingly. Then you sew accordingly. Take your time to do this. So So you sew accordingly. So when you have gotten to this stage now, you have successfully gotten a nice closing of your band. Bear in mind that in sewing of the band, you must be patient enough to follow the rigorous processes and then arrive at the nice finishing. So take your time and close. Then after closing, the next thing you do now is to start locking the loops finally. So how then do we lock the loops, which I will show you as well. So right here, you also start from the tip of the trouser, then from the band as well. You start to top stitch again. You start to top stitch again, then bending the loops. Then the loops must now lap accordingly, right? Make sure it's corresponding with the length of the band. Don't allow the loops to exceed the band. It must be in line with the band measurement. Then you sew. Coming on that point, it's advisable that you raise your machine foot up so that it can clip the band, the loop firmly, and then double sew here. That's stitch very well before you proceed to the next loop. So this is how you keep on fixing your loops as you progress. Make sure that you make the band, the loop, to correspond with the band. Don't allow the loop to exceed the length of the band. Then arriving the loop, raise your foot up and then clip it again, and then stitch double, right? So that you can reinforce the loop very well on the band, so that it will not pull off or tear off at slightest provocation or slightest pressure. Then this is how you will successfully fix your loops, and then make sure that the loops are not dragging the trouser up, the bottom of the trouser up. Then when you have gotten to that stage now, you now fix this one as well. So you fix this one as well, right? So you fix it as well, and then you have gotten to the concluding part of the trouser. The next thing left now will now be your lap closure, your knee closure, and your ankle closure, which I think show us as well how to go about that. So right here, if you notice now, you have gotten to the second to last loop, which will really be of a great interest to know that all of us must have seen and learned how to lock your Ankara trouser band. And then I would expect to see the results of this sewing in our feedback. So right here is how the band is being locked. Then when you must have locked the band, then you can now go ahead to cut off the excess foldings of the band, of the loop that are inside. Then make sure you cut off the tip inwards. Don't cut the real loop, put it in, cut the excess foldings inside beneath the loop. This is how you are going to cut all those stuffs, and then you now have your loops cut out and having the exact of whatever you have to be the finishing. So right here you cut them off, and then this is how you can finish your band properly. And then having done the closing very well, this is how our band should look like. So let's now check the band, and then the next thing we do now is to do your buttonhole on the bottom one, your button on the bottom one, buttonhole on the up one, and then you lock it up, having in mind that you have applied the real waist. So this is how your band should look like on your Ankara trouser. So right here, the next step I will go now is to lock the lap. So how then do we lock the lap? The easiest way to lock the lap, if you notice, when we were cutting the trouser, we do not make use of the lap measurement and the knee. We only made use of the waist, the hip, and the ankle. So after you must have gotten to this point, you now hold on the two crotch area, lap them together with this one, then pin the middle, and then arrange your trouser. Now you start to apply your lap measurement on the lap area, your knee measurement on the knee lining ending area, and then your ankle measurement. And then after you have applied the measurements, you now connect the lines with your curve, and then you sew. Then that will be the closure. Do this on the both legs. Make sure you apply the exact measurement. This time around, no allowance will be needed. So you apply the knee here, apply the lap here, and apply the ankle here. Then extend the lines in a straight line, connect it in a curvy form here, and then connect to the lap. Do the same thing on the other leg, and then sew on that line you have marked. After that, you now apply the length of the trouser, and then fold to your desired length, and then do your final ironing and finishing. So right here, we can now say we are done explaining how to fix the band. I believe most of us must have known how to lock the leg. And not forget, this is Mr. Redefined. Thank you for watching.